So we likely have a state budget. It's been a long time delayed, but it's finally on the horizon. The question is, how will the average Israeli feel the changes? Joining me to discuss is economic consumer behavior expert and assistant professor Vili Abraham. Vili, thanks as always for being with us. Now, recent agreements on the economic arrangements bill include reforms affecting food and toiletry imports, imports of medical cannabis and wireless communications equipment for home use, and these are just a handful of the changes with potentially big outcomes. So assuming that the budget passes in its current form, where will Israelis likely see the most savings?
If we're looking at savings, first of all, there will be reduced bureaucracy as far as managing and administrating a business is concerned. And when there's a lot of bureaucracy, you need a lot of documentation and certificate that costs money, and that will likely be a saving for business owners. But if we're looking at the average Israeli, we're going to see that people are going to save a lot of money in the supermarket as far as buying fruits and vegetables and other products, because the market will be open to import on the one hand. On the other hand, we'll be paying more for disposable plasticware and sweetened beverages. But I think taken as a whole, opening up the market will bring significant savings to the average Israeli family.
All right, so we've discussed the so-called sugar tax in previous interviews, which will raise the cost of certain goods in efforts to reduce obesity. And now we're also seeing inclusion of a higher carbon tax, which will make electricity more expensive. Where will Israelis start paying more?
Well, the first place is actually paying more for electricity in our homes, which is as expensive as is. And because businesses will be paying more for the electricity to run their businesses, it means that we as consumers will probably have to pay more because, if you look at the way businesses operate, if they incur more expensive, this is usually passed on to consumers because a business is open in order to maximize profits and minimize its expenses. So it means that in a lot of ways we'll be paying more. Maybe it's for things that we buy in the supermarket because there are greater expenses in the malls. Where every business that operates and serves its customers offline will be paying more, and we're likely to pay more. The question is how much.
Right.
But I don't think it will increase prices significantly just because of electricity.
All right, so what other taxes might we be discussing in the budget proposal? I see a congestion fee for the Gush Dan, Tel Aviv area. Transportation Minister Michal Michaeli says that the public transport can't handle picking up the slack. Meanwhile, you have agricultural reform, another issue as farmers are protesting the plan to open the market to international competitors, the fear being that consumers may win, but farmers will lose. How do you respond?
Yeah, well, there's always a trade-off between offering your citizens cheaper prices and, on the other hand, affecting negatively farmers. Because, if the market is open to competition, it means that the prices of fruits and vegetables and everything that is produced in Israel will decrease. And this means that the profits of the farmers will decrease. But I think that we have to look at the picture overall. I think that in Israel, we're paying much, much more than any OECD country, certainly much more than the United States. And I think that it's high time that we do enjoy great competition and more reasonable prices. And I think that all markets in Israel, all competitors, all businesses can just become more efficient. And if they become more efficient, they can still make a profit while selling their products at a more reasonable price. So farmers just have to become more efficient, but I don't necessarily means that this is the end of Israeli agriculture.
All right. So in June, Finance Minister Lieberman assured the public that there will be no tax hike, that we oppose a tax hike, taxes should not be raised, and there will be no going crazy on the budget issues. That's a quote. But this is clearly not the case. Was it ever possible for Israel not to raise taxes, especially given the economic fallout of the pandemic?
No, this would not be possible. It's because the Israeli government actually paid out in different ways through incentives and through unemployment benefits about 120 billion shekels. And this has to come back to the government coffers. So it did raise money through bonds, but most of the money will have to come through taxing either services, government services, that will be raised pretty soon, and through direct and indirect taxes. Nobody spoke about, as far as I know, nobody spoke about increasing income tax, but that's also something that can increase, and also the VAT, the value added tax, which is currently 17%, that can also go back to 18%, which was the case for many, many years.
All right. So I guess then my final question, at the end of the day, we talked about savings, and potential costs that will inadvertently be passed down to consumers. Overall, at the end of the day, is the Israeli public going to be paying more or saving more after this budget is enacted?
Well, if you look at the overall picture, I think that if you look at the families and the lower socioeconomic strata, I think that they will benefit greatly from this. Well, how much is great? Well, I think that even if an average family, if you look at the weaker families, even if they save only 200 shekels a month, that could make a big difference. So I think they will be saving more. I think that consumers who are in the upper income bracket, they will be probably making less because they will be taxed on their income and other profits. But I think that overall, if you look at the average family, I would probably say that they would benefit. After all is said and done, probably more money will be left in every family.
All right. Dr. Vili Abraham, thank you so much.
Pleasure.